I want to start, I'm going to ask us to stand up for a moment. Because this is being a little bit heavy, good heavy, like I was speaking in this last exercise, and how so many things that we have learned during these 2.5 days. So many nuggets that the image that came was we have this big pot and loads of beautiful ingredients was put in this beautiful pot. And now we are stirring the pot. And we even put some spices on it with this last conversation. Maybe spices that we are not very familiar with, but they are interesting. Open our curiosity. So with that in mind, that we are cooking something that is going to be delicious, but we don't know exactly how it's going to taste. With that openness, I want to invite you to put your feet more or less, how to say, in a comfortable, not together. Because what happens when we have them too close to each other, it's difficult to keep the balance. So just open to the width of your body, natural width. And then the other thing that is very important, do not lock your knees. Because again, it's not good for balance, and we have here experts on the body that will be able to explain. I'm trying to see, she's, yes, that can even take us even more deeper in these things, but soften the knees is one of the things that we can do to create that groundness and to be more stable. And from that comfortable position, whatever is comfortable for you, you can place one hand in the top of your chest, another hand in the top of your belly, and just become aware of your breathing. You're breathing out, you're breathing in. Just that, becoming aware of it, of the movement, of the range of your breathing. Now you can let your hands go, shake them a little bit, shake your body if you want a little bit too, and just sit and get comfortable in your chairs, because I have two good news for you. One, you are alive, and it's so good to be alive. And two, you have survived my Portuguese accent. So, the first day, to the ones that were lucky enough to be here in the pre-conference, we went to this beautiful place called the Botanical Garden, the Desert Botanical Garden. And we had the assignment of enjoying that beautiful place while looking for plants that represent the theme of this gathering here. And some of us pick the saguaro cactus, because here in Arizona represents the state for a reason, and is looking to it and understanding how it's grounded, how it becomes the hotel of the desert, all the beautiful things around it is really a great example of being grounded, of being resilient, and of rising. And one of the interesting things that I didn't know, and I learned with the experience that we have all together there, is that the saguaro cactus has this kind of ribs, like a structure within it, that works almost like our ribs, in the sense that when there is water and they absorb the water, they expand. And when the environment, there is not much water and they have to use the water, they contract. So there is a rhythm there. And also the theme here is expansion. But sometimes life gives us these lemons, sometimes watermelons, And sometimes we have to contract. And that is okay too. It's part of this rhythm. Because we cannot be expanding forever. So we have to respect these rhythms that we have. And another rhythm that we are celebrating is the rhythm of starting a new year. We are in the beginning of 2025. And it's almost a collective thing. I love to see when they do the countdown to midnight that they show what happened in Australia, and then in Asia, and then in Europe, and then in New York, and then I go to bed. But there is that rhythm. Everybody is like a collective celebration of a new restart, a new beginning. And these collective celebrations are really important. And there is these that are most of the time celebrations. There is also these restarts that sometimes are not wanted but happen. So if we think, we spoke in these couple of days about COVID-19. Why? Because it's a collective restart. We speak a before and an after the COVID-19 that affect most people in the world in one way or the other. And this is what our life was before COVID and after COVID. And personally, we have these macro restarts in our lives that we speak about our life before having a kid, after having a kid. Before maybe a new job or changing job, or before some adversity in our lives that we had to overcome. So I want to start there to give you a moment to identify a macro restart moment in your life. You can just write it in your journal, but just honor that moment. Sometimes can be like when we decide if we want to have a kid, it's a beautiful thing that happens in our lives, brutal and fantastic at the same time. Sometimes it's that watermelons that life gives us, but are moments that become a before and an after. So just identify them, because maybe you had the contract to be able to expand afterwards. Because there is something magical when we honor the power of restarting. It's a new beginning, a new opportunity. That is one of the things of the collective restart of the new year. The New Year resolutions can be extremely powerful, mainly the ones that we keep going. We'll be speaking something about that. And the other thing that now I want to bring the attention, so we were in the macro, now I want to go in the more inside the year. Because we don't have to wait for next year to meet again in Expansion 2026 to restart again. Most of you are in business for yourself or somebody else. So in business, we have this quarterly planning. Every quarter, we can take opportunity for a new restart of the quarter. There is this beautiful system called the 12-week year that takes this concept to a beautiful framework. If instead of waiting 12 months for considering a year, we take about what quarter? A quarter is really 13 weeks, but if you take 12 weeks of the quarter, each week has the value of a month. Each day of the week has the value of a week. How much more we can get done, and we can restart and achieve with intention if we break things in quarters. And a month go back to the first of the month. And a week, go back to Monday. And a day, hopefully, after good night's sleep, as a new start in the morning. So every day can be a restarting moment. Sometimes we even have to take every hour as a restart. And if we want to go to ancient traditions like Buddhism, every breath is a new breath, is a new restart. So think about the power of it. And speaking about the power, so how we do with all this information, when one of the things that I did in 2024 was finally publishing my book called The Mindset Zone. That is the same name of my podcast. And I had to overcome certain predispositions that I had about books. And I decided to write what I call an airplane read. It's a 2 hours read. You can go in your airplane, read this. And I was wanting to, what can I give through the book or through my speaking that people don't need a cheat sheet and they can take something that can help them catalyze their desire of self-development, of leveraging this energy, for instance, of restarting in a way that has an impact in their lives and in the lives of others. And with my background in psychology and my PhD, I had to look on research. With my experience with personal development that go back when I was 15 and 16, that I started to participate in this kind of gatherings. With all the training that I have in coaching, I came to put together, it's nothing new. The ingredients are not new, but I think I made it in a way that becomes delicious. So I brought it all together in the framework or a method that I call the P.I.E. method, because a pie is a delicious thing. So P.I.E. is 3 letters, P-I-E. And if we learn these ingredients, we really can catalyze, really accelerate a lot of our personal and self-development. So the first letter is the P. And P comes from the word pause, because it's so important to pause. And I want to do another exercise that illustrates the power of pausing. Please write somewhere, can be in the journal or in another paper, the word reactive. R-E-A-C-T-I-V-E, reactive. Everybody has the word down? Okay. Now, look to the word and find the letter C between the A and the T. Cross it out from there and bring it to the beginning of the word. Which word do you have now? You went from reactive to creative. Is not that the goal of self-development? Move us from a reactive state to a creative of proactive state? We had during these days here a quote that is my favorite quote. Between a stimulus and a response, there is a space. In that space is our freedom to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The problem is when life gets on us and we are running, how do we create the space to be able to choose our response, to exercise our freedom and our learning? We have to pause in order to see that space. And what we are doing here is what I like to call a macro pause. We are taking at least 2 days out of our busy schedules to come together and to put all these ingredients in this big pot to cook something delicious. So doing macro pauses is essential, but not enough. Because if we just put the ingredient in and then we keep walking away and you never look at them again, we are not going to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So I invite you to consider another type of pause to integrate in your life, maybe more often that you already are doing, that I like to call the schedule pauses. So we have these macro pauses, considerable amount of time that you take to do something, but then we want to exercise our muscles of what we do here to honor, to create the space in our day-to-day, at least weekly, where we have a scheduled pause to plan the week, to plan the day, to journal, to meditate. But if we don't create that space, that container, we are not honor the space to do the work that we need to do. It's like if we want to be physically fit, we have to go to the gym or doing some kind of exercise. It will not happen just by happening. We have to do something. If we want to be mentally fit and resilient, we have to honor that by giving time in our calendar for taking care of ourselves, for reflecting on the things that we have done, or the decisions that we took, and do something with it. Because only then we can have the muscles ready to do the third type of pauses that are the micro pauses. Is that millisecond between something that triggers us, before then we respond in a way that we are not very proud of. We can choose another response that we are much more proud of. So the P of the P.I.E method is for pause. Macro pauses, schedule pauses, like for journaling, for meditating, or whatever, going for a run. There was somebody that likes to run and is a way of meditating, running, active, or whatever is your way of doing this, because then you are much, you create the strength, the mental strength to exercise the micro pauses that can make an incredible difference in your life. So we have the P. So what is the I of the P.I.E? I is for increasing self-awareness. Self-development is a lot about increasing our self-awareness. And the twist that I like to do for the increased self-awareness is a reminder that I'm a mindset person. I even have a podcast and a book called Mindset Zone. So I believe in mindset work. I absolutely believe that changing our thoughts, change our feelings, what we do, how we behave, and what we manifest, the results that we get in the world. Absolutely. And at the same time, we have to be careful of being too linear. Thoughts, feelings, behaviors, results. Absolutely is one of the realities that happen, and a great one, but it's not the only way of changing. When we are in a situation that we are banging our head against the wall, probably going to a walk in nature is the best thing that we can do to change our feelings and to change our thoughts and to open our mind about the situation of the challenge that we are facing. So I like to use the image of a triangle to represent thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Because if you have a line, you can lose one of them, and you still have the line. But if you have a triangle, if you lose one of the sides, you cease to have a triangle. So remind us that we need these 3 dimensions. We need our thoughts, and we can do a ton of work in our thoughts and core beliefs, absolutely. We need to be more aware probably of our feelings and be able to speak about them, and also about the actions and behaviors and habits that we develop. And for some people, like me, neck up, is easy to start with your thoughts, so easy. But then we can increase our self-awareness by asking how this reflects in the feelings and in the behaviors that I have. For more creative type people, they are so connected with their feelings. Part of their creativity and source comes from that connection. Wonderful, start there. And then ask, how that changed my thoughts and my behaviors? Some people are the doers, they want to be doing stuff. Wonderful, start there. And then ask how this affects my feelings and behaviors. They always interplay with each other. So we can start wherever is easier for us, and then increase our self-awareness by seeing how they interplay with each other, because all of them are needed if we want to create lasting change. And that takes us to the E of the P.I.E method. So we have the P for pause, and with the 3 types of pauses, macro, schedule, and micro. Then we have the I for increasing our self-awareness, reminding the triangle for thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and how they interplay with each other. And then we have the E, that I like to call it the embrace, the experimentation mindset. And I love the word experimentation in this context because my background is in science, in research. And the interesting thing when we look to science is that when we are designing a research project, let's be honest, we expect a certain result. And the big advances in science happen when we are surprised because we didn't got the expected result. And we go, oh, what happened here? This is not what I was expecting. So from that perspective, there is no failures, just new information to learn from. So why not apply that to our lives? Instead of seeing a failure, we see, no, this is new information to learn from. Then we are reframing failure. Because we have the tendency in our society of seeing, if I go this road down, maybe it's success, maybe it's failure, so I really have to decide right. If I go to that road, maybe it's failure or success. And then we stay paralyzed there. When the reality, the road to any type of success or fulfilling in our lives is paved by failures along the way. We just learn to get up, ask for help many times, and keep going. So if we embrace this experimentation mindset, we are much more resilient and allow us to rise in big ways. So what I would like to ask you is you have maybe take many nuggets from these 2 days and a half that we've been together. What is the thing that you can consider to experiment with? Maybe is the laughter, maybe it's journaling, maybe some movement, whatever it is. But how can you schedule in your calendar? So first you have to decide what you want to experiment with. Then create a space, a pause to experiment with that you have to schedule if you want to make it happen. And then also allow some time to reflect how that increases your self-awareness. Because that is how you honor the work that you are doing and allow these to really take roots that allow you to be resilient for the times in your life that you have to contract, for then be able to expand and to rise. So I will give you 1 minute to at least decide maybe a couple of things that maybe you would like to experiment with. And knowing that you can keep this working going afterwards, let's try to wrap up in the next 5 seconds for now. And I'm going to give you a resource that you, I'm going to, if you go afterwards, for a question of time, I will suggest that you go afterwards, but the website, I create a short link for it. Mindset.zone. So instead of .com is .zone, so mindset.zone/2025. So mindset.zone/2025 will be a short survey. Polkadot for speakers is an amazing, amazing, amazing tool that works better when you get people doing it, but for a sake of time, we are not going to do it here. And then at the end, you will have access to a page in my website where I have more resources about the P.I.E method, okay? And ways of keep communicating with me. Now here, I just would like to hear a couple of people about something that you are going to experiment with.
I'm just gonna say no, and I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah.
No.
Like, I'm not gonna wait for, but, for them to, I'm just gonna, no.
Love it, love it, love it. One more.
Martin's got it.
Perfect.
I'm gonna bring journaling back into my life.
Yes.
In the morning, right after I make my coffee and my oatmeal. And my
Yes.
oatmeal.
Yes. Perfect. That is the way that you honor the work that you have been doing here. And honor yourself. Because we can expand what is possible in this world for us, for the ones around you, and for the world. Thank you so much.